sanctuary of our homes. And I see God in the wilderness, in our magnetism to recklessness, black or white or vivid color. After a while it all runs together. Stained glass means nothing without light. And I see God in our damaged good, but you see God in ways I wish I could. Yeah, you see God in ways that I wish I could. Without assurance, without insurance, you believe. Without condition or the promise of heaven, you see the Holy Ghost in broad daylight. I see the reflection in your eyes. I see the reflection in your eyes. I see the reflection in your eyes.
There ain't no gold in this river that I've been washing my hands in forever. I know there is hope in these waters, but I can't bring myself to swim when I am drowning in this silence, baby. Let me in. Go easy on me, baby. I was still a child, didn't get the chance to feel the world around me.
been outside since I got here, but it's muggy, or online. Welcome. It's so good to be with you today. We have Taryn on keys, who is going to be leading us. I'm Tommy. Mary is finishing up getting ready with her microphone here. Got Graham on the bass, Paul guitar, and then Jay in the back on drums. And so reasons we introduce ourselves is so that we can start to build a connection, and it's not just us here performing for you, but it's an invitation to engage. So we're so grateful to be with you. It's been a wild couple of weeks, and so it's beautiful to come on a Sunday morning and make sense of that together and be in community together. So if you are able, if you want to, feel free to stand, and we're going to sing some songs.
Scriptures that we can't escape the presence of God. It is everywhere. And when we gather like this and sing together, we're just reminding each other of that presence. And so as we sing this together, let it just be that reminder to our heart. Where could I go? Where could I hide that you wouldn't know? You wouldn't find me. Where could I go? Where could I hide that you wouldn't know? You wouldn't find me. Where could I go? Where could I hide that you wouldn't know? You wouldn't find me. Where could side of the room, I'm going to invite you to sing with me. And this side, you're going to sing with them, okay? Here we go. This side, you're going to sing with me. God, my wandering heart. God, my wandering heart. God, my wandering heart. To you, it's fine, yeah. Beautiful singing. It is so good to see your faces this morning. And for those of you joining us online, we're grateful for you. And we just want to give you a moment to maybe meet some of the people that are here in the room with you, or they're online on YouTube or on Facebook. So take a second, maybe say hi, meet someone you've never met. Maybe don't shake hands since we're trying to safely distance, or do whatever you want to do. But
Do whatever you want to do. Lord, when I'm broken,
When I'm broken,
I'm in need.
I'm in need.
Feel that ocean
Feel that ocean
swallow me.
swallow me.
Head is hanging
It is
so
aching
sorrowfully.
so sorrowfully.
Oh Lord, come shine your light on me.
Shine your light on me.
And that morning,
On that morning,
scared and blue.
scared and blue.
When I'm hungry,
When I'm hungry,
thirsty too.
thirsty too.
Send this raindrop
Send this rain
down to the sea.
down to the sea.
Oh Lord, come shine your light on me.
Shine your light on me.
Oh, shine your light.
Oh, shine your light.
Oh, shine your light.
Shine your light.
And I know in the darkness I'm alright. See, there's no sun rising, but inside I am free. 'Cause the Lord will shine a light on me.
Shine your light on me.
Oh, the Lord will shine your light on me.
Shine your light on me.
Sing this with me, y'all. Sing this with me. Oh, the Lord will shine your light on me.
Shine your light on me.
Oh, the Lord will shine your light on me.
Shine your light on me.
Oh, the Lord will shine the light on me.
Shine your light on me. Lift our hands up high, we raise our voices louder to a loving God, the Prince of Peace. We lift our hands up high, we raise our voices louder. Be honor and glory, and let's sing it out. We lift our hands up high, we raise our voices louder to our loving God, the Prince of Peace. We lift our hands up high, we raise our voices louder. Be honor and glory unending. We lift our hands up higher. We raise our voices louder to a loving God, the Prince of Peace. We lift our hands up higher. We raise our voices louder. Be honor and glory unending. Praise to our God. 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 Lord, shine a light on me. Oh, the Lord will shine a light on me.
Thank you for singing with us. You can have a seat.
My name is Matt. I'm one of the co-pastors here at Watershed, and I want to just take a moment to say thank you for carving out time this morning to be a part of what we're doing here, gathering together, whether that's online or here in person. I've got quite a list of things that are really important for you to be aware of as we move into our week and move into the summer. And so first of all, I want to remind all of you who are brand new, if you're interested in being a part of an experience that helps you take what you what you've been a part of in your past religious or spiritual experiences and see how that might integrate into community and relationship here at Watershed. The next preface, which is the environment that helps kind of grease those wheels, so to speak, is beginning in July. I think the date is the 15th, July 13th, excuse me. It's 4 Wednesdays in a row beginning July 13th. I know that's a long ways off, but if you're even remotely interested, can I just encourage you to jump on the QR code there or jump on our Watershed app and go ahead and sign up and get it out there on your calendar. It's something that both Scott and myself and our staff really get excited when folks start to enter into that environment, and that's available for you right now. You can go ahead and start signing up for that. Also, I want to let you know that if you are a family that has introduced a new life into your family structure, so to speak, you have a new son or a daughter, then the next child dedication is the first Sunday of June. Again, you can jump on the QR code and sign up for the next child dedication a moment or service that we have here at Watershed. And then also, we've been getting asked this question quite a bit over the last several weeks about, is there ever a point when masks will become optional here at Watershed? We've been monitoring this literally every week as a staff. And so, excuse me, next Sunday we are actually going to go to an optional environment when it comes to masks. We'll still have them at the door if you want to take advantage of that, or if that's something that's helpful for you. But beginning next weekend, that's the drill, so to speak. We're still going to have the outdoor venue if that's something that makes you feel a little more comfortable. Of course, there's always online, and we're monitoring it. We realize that things are fluid sometimes. If we have to go back to a mask environment, we're certainly willing to do that. So those are like 3 quick hitter things I wanted to mention this morning. We got some news this past week that was just so encouraging around an organization that we've been partnering with for the past year called Bethany Christian Services. And if you're not familiar with Bethany Christian Services, their whole lot of existence is to take children who have been separated at the border from their families, provide foster care for those children, and then work to reunify them with families. And they let us know that just in 2022 alone, since January, they've reunified 25 plus families, or children, just in a very short period of time, 4 5 months or so. This is really starting to pick up steam. We've had the privilege of being able to come alongside them and provide various material items for those children. We've actually connected them with some medical professionals here in Watershed that have met really important needs. And they let us know that they have a physical need, and would Watershed help them out? They need new or like new pieces of luggage. And this is really good news. Because the kids are going home. So they need like these suitcases. I'm a mess. I'm so sorry, y'all. They need this luggage to put clothing in and new items. They show up with nothing. And they want to be able to send them back to their families, to help them travel back to their families with this piece of luggage. There's actually, if you go on the QR code, there's some Amazon spaces that we kind of recommend. But if you have something really gently, like brand new, sort of in your closet that you were going to upgrade or whatnot, that's certainly optional. But I think ideally, if we could show up here with 25 or more pieces of luggage over the next 2 or 3 weeks, that would be spectacular. And if we end up with like 50, that'll work too, because this work is just going to keep going on. They're excited about that. These kids literally have to fly to other parts of the country to be reunited with family members. So I don't think I've ever been so excited to say, hey, there's a need here that we get to be a part of. And again, QR code in the back of the auditorium, or if it's during the week, you can drop it off at our staff house, which if you go out these double doors and all the way into the hall, it's the black building to the right of this building. And then finally, or not finally, but next, I know David mentioned this last Sunday, but we are super excited about our June here at Watershed. We're going to try to do something Watershed has never done. We're having like a midweek experience, so to speak. It's called Reclamation VBS. If you've had the opportunity to be a part of some of the reclamation environments here at Watershed, you know that like there's this deep dive into some sort of theological or biblical or Christian tradition or doctrine, and kind of peeling back the layers and going, what is that really? And then how do we reclaim it? It's really taken on an energy here over the last year and a half, and we're doing our very first in-person version of that. But it's kind of like go big or go home. And so it's a 2-hour block of time from 6 to 9. That is the 15th, 22nd, and 29th of June. And coupled with that is a common meal. We're going to have some food starting about 6 p.m. But then also Greenhouse, Blair Gore, is doing something called Compassion Camp with the tagline, be kind, be loved, be you. And she's going to be integrating some of our senior high kids into this environment where if you have children greenhouse age or in student ministry age, there's something for them as well. Here's the thing, though. We need you to register. We got to know who's coming. We got to be able to make sure we have enough food, make sure Blair is well equipped for the kids' part of this. We're thinking like if we can get into the 15 to 20 person/households, families for this event, it's really going to pop. And the more the merrier. We'd love to have you be a part of that. And again, there's a QR code or the Watershed app. And I think that's pretty much everything other than to say that thank you for those of you who allow your resources to fuel everything I just talked about. I don't think we've ever gone into a summer with so much energy, with so many things to be excited about, and the resources that you allow to flow this way help make that happen in a really powerful way. We every month we try to bring on a new generation of folks who are generous towards Watershed, giving units or giving families, giving households here, giving people. And we try to do, if we can find 5 new families or households, that seems to really create life and predictability around how we see the future and the things that we get to be a part of. And so as of today, we have 3 of those 5. If you're interested in being number 4 or number 5 on that list or more, we'd love to include you. Again, there's a QR code for giving here. There's an app or on the Watershed app and on the Watershed website, real secure ways of doing that. And so thank you for indulging my emotions this morning. And I hope this morning really speaks to you. I got a feeling it will.
Good morning, friends. My name is Jillian, and I've been attending Watershed since early 2019, so just came in right in time before the pandemic life. And this has always been my favorite part of the service. The level of authenticity and vulnerability that I've seen up here week after week is really admirable, and I'm aiming to be as brave today when I share my story with all of you. So to kick things off, I just wanted to share a few of my happy places with all of you to get to know me a little bit better. So here's this first one. My family and I went camping last weekend, real camping in a tent and everything. So that was the first one. And the one with the 2 little kiddos, if any of you have volunteered in Greenhouse, maybe you've seen them. Those are 2 of my nieces and nephews of 4. Very lucky to be an aunt. There's me in, yes, a pool of sprinkles because ice cream. That's at the Museum of Ice Cream in New York City. And then the next one is of me singing. That's another happy place for me. I got to sing up here with the band just a few weeks ago. And then here is maybe one of my favorite happy places, just me in my hammock when we were camping, looking out on the water, seeing the way the sun comes through the trees. It's just really magical for me. So Watershed, what is saving me now? And that is grace. I realize grace can hold a lot of different meanings for all of us, so allow me to explain how grace has shown up for me these past few months. I am a 3-wing 4 on the Enneagram, for anyone who knows what that means, and that means I define my worth by my success, and my wing means I require a lot of attention. So as a 3, would you believe me if I told you I quit my corporate job to go work at a coffee shop? Well, believe it, folks, because that happened. I learned that everyone defines success differently, and that the success I had achieved thus far in my career felt really empty and was definitely wrestling with a bit of imposter syndrome. Me quitting my job stood as a promise to myself to listen the next time my intuition is nagging at me, to have faith that I know what's best for me more than anyone. I remember flooding feelings of relief, of freedom, and pride when I could finally look myself in the eye again. In fact, it wasn't until quitting, that I realized I hadn't looked myself in the eye in a really long time. I was so proud of myself, and I've never been prouder. It wasn't an easy choice to make by any means, and I'm still working on giving myself more grace every single day. It's a journey, right? Over these past few months, I've allowed myself to just be. It's a really weird feeling. I've given myself grace on days I don't check enough items off of the never-ending to-do list. Sounds like a 3, right? I've given myself grace on days when ice cream is the only thing to bring me comfort. I've given myself grace by redefining my relationships and letting go of ones that were no longer serving me. With this grace, I unexpectedly found myself extending more grace to others. And that is one of many reasons why I'm so thankful for this new chapter of self-exploration. So for any of you listening that feels burnt out, don't we all? Thank you, COVID. Or anyone that dreads going to work every single day, give yourself permission to start all over again and reinvent what you want your life to look like, because we can do that. I'm not encouraging you to walk into work tomorrow and tell your boss everything you've had on your chest, including some language and the words "I quit," because having an exit plan is definitely imperative. I know it's complicated, but I want to remind you that you are not your work. Work is just work, and it doesn't have to be our everything. Life has so much more beauty to offer us outside of our 9 to 5. And remember that your intuition is the most powerful tool you will ever possess, because once I started listening, I haven't been able to stop. Now, Watershed, we'd like to give you the time and space to reflect on what's saving you right now. Thank you.
Hey, rest here in peace. Lay it down at the funeral for your past day.
When I was just a little boy, I used to like those shiny, pretty things. One day, I bought myself a prize. I bought it from a bubble gum machine. Then I ran home, calling my mama. Hey, mama, look at all the pretty things I got. My mama smiled, said, sit down, my child. She told me, oh boy, all that glitters ain't gold. It might fool you sometimes. That's a little something from the Spinners. The name of the song, thank you. I was really nervous about that because that second part, but anyway, I digress. The song of theirs called All That Glitters Ain't Gold. You might be familiar with the Spinners. You know, they had that little song called Rubber Band Man. If you're a big fan of, Marvel, Infinity War, you might have heard that little song when the Guardians of the Galaxy are seamlessly installed into that installment of the Marvel Universe and the whole Avengers saga. But anyway, yes. That is what I'm going to title this sermon today. Because, as our series bumper indicates, this gold leaf series we are currently in is inspired by the century-old Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery. And they basically take gold leaf, and use it to join the pieces of broken pottery and, make it something that is unique, something that is new, something that is beautiful. The scars and the cracks of the broken ceramic become the focal point. Instead of it being this thing that's broken, it's this thing that's considered beautiful. But, as the legendary soul and rhythm blues group of the 70s, the Spinners sang, all that glitters ain't gold. In the first book of Kings in the Old Testament of the Bible, we are told a number of stories about or involving King Ahab. King Ahab was the one who was king when there's that infamous showdown between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. But this is another story that happens after that, where King Ahab seeks to make a vegetable garden, or perhaps a vineyard near his home. Now, most of the kings who are chronicled in Kings and Chronicles were erecting idols, waging wars, and leading the nation of Israel astray. So it might seem kind of refreshing, especially considering when we're first introduced to King Ahab, that here is a king wanting to create a vegetable garden or vineyard. Except there was one obstacle. The land where King Ahab wanted to plant a garden or create a vineyard was being occupied by a man named Naboth, who already had a vineyard in that very plot of land. And picking up in 1 Kings chapter 21, here's how the story goes. Sometime later, there was an incident involving a vineyard belonging to Naboth the Jezreelite. The vineyard was in Jezreel, close to the palace of Ahab, king of Samaria. Ahab said to Naboth, "Let me have your vineyard to use for a vegetable garden, since it is close to my palace. In exchange, I will give you a better vineyard. If you prefer, I'll pay you whatever it's worth." But Naboth replied, "The Lord forbid that I should give you the inheritance of my ancestors." So Ahab went home, sullen and angry, because Naboth the Jezreelite had said, "I will not give you the inheritance of my ancestors." He lay on his bed, sulking, and refused to eat. I hope you heal. His wife Jezebel came in and asked him, "Why are you so sullen? Why won't you eat?" He answered her, "Because I said to Naboth the Jezreelite, 'Sell me your vineyard, or if you prefer, I will give you another vineyard in its place.' But he said, 'I will not give you my vineyard.'" Jezebel, his wife, said, "Is this how you act as king over Israel? Get up and eat. Cheer up. I'll get you the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite." So she wrote letters in Ahab's name, placed a seal on them, and sent them to the elders and the nobles who lived in Naboth's city with him. In those letters she wrote, "Proclaim a day of fasting and seat Naboth in a prominent place among the people. But seat 2 scoundrels opposite him and have them bring charges that he has cursed both God and king. Then take him out and stone him to death." So the elders and the nobles who lived in Naboth's city did as Jezebel directed in the letters she had written to them. They proclaimed a fast and seated Naboth in a prominent place among the people. Then 2 scoundrels came and sat opposite him and brought charges against Naboth before the people, saying, "Naboth has cursed God and king." So they took him outside the city and stoned him to death. Then they sent word to Jezebel, "Naboth has been stoned to death." As soon as Jezebel heard that Naboth had been stoned to death, she said to Ahab, "Get up and take possession of the vineyard of Naboth the Jezreelite that he refused to sell you. He is no longer alive, but dead." When Ahab heard that Naboth was dead, he got up and went down to take possession of Naboth's vineyard. This is one of those places where in some churches they would say, "This is the word of the Lord," which just seems weird after you read a story like that. But it is in the Bible. And, a lot of times there's comments made about how the Bible is outdated. It's kind of archaic. That in particular, the Old Testament is out of touch, problematic, or largely irrelevant. But y'all, that story right there, that story of a king using his power and privilege to take something that doesn't belong to him, in particular, take the land and the inheritance of a far less powerful man, that story is pretty timeless. That story has relevance. That story hits close to home. That story sounds a lot like something that has happened, is happening, and will continue to happen if we continue to allow ourselves to be distracted by that which glitters. I usually don't watch the local news, but I just happened to come across a story this week, and it's taking place in Pineville. And the story is, in essence, a group of people in this neighborhood in Pineville have all received these mysterious letters letting them know that the ownership group that owns the homes that many of them are renting, many of them that have rented for decades, even generations, is under new management. And the management has given them 30 days to move. Lord knows what's going to happen with those homes, what might be put in its place. But the reality is we have an entire neighborhood of people who have been residents, who have created memories, who have raised families, who, contrary to what sometimes is put out there, paid their rent on time, who are about to be evicted from their homes. The news investigative team looked at the address for this company that sent these letters, and it leads to a vacant lot. So whomever the management group is remains under investigation, if you will. That story, in a lot of ways, is very similar to that one we find in 1 Kings chapter 21. But instead, you replace a king with corporations and banks. You could replace Naboth with low-income families, typically, but not always, families of color that have been living in or renting the same house for sometimes 2 and 3 generations. You could replace Naboth's vineyard with a modest house. Instead of an offer directly from the king, it's letters in the mail and persistent phone calls offering to buy your home for cash, even offering to pay all fees, repairs, and closing costs sight unseen. Instead of a conniving, wicked queen promising to give you the vineyard, it's city planners, developers, local businesses, local politicians with promises of urban renewal. Subbing in for the 2 scoundrels would be perhaps landlords who are eager for a big payday. Instead of being stoned to death, it's an individual or whole family being displaced and either having to move to a completely different town or becoming homeless. It's part of a bigger problem that is going on in many parts of our country, but it's happening in our state as well. And in particular, happening in the Triad area, but also Charlotte, in the area that many of us who have learned about some of the history and some of the inequality in our city would call the Crescent, the area where the median household income is the lowest, that the disparity between it and the wedge is somewhere in the range of $50,000 to almost $60,000, where the schools are not as good, there's a higher crime rate, like all these different things are interrelated. And oftentimes people will say, well, hey, the development that's happening in this city, it's gotta be a good thing, right? We're going in and we're filling in the cracks. We're taking something that's broken and repairing it and making it beautiful. And look at all the businesses and, things that are coming into these neighborhoods that have largely been abandoned. But not everything that glitters is gold. It's really easy to point the finger at the phenomenon that we often refer to as gentrification, which is just really a fancy way of saying displacement. But the root of it in Charlotte in particular actually doesn't go as far back necessarily as the 70s and the 80s. It really actually goes back to the Great Recession we had in 2009, where a lot of homes went under foreclosure. A lot of homes were left vacant and abandoned. And part of the solution at the time was, well, what if these banks and these corporations bought up these homes? It would prevent the property value in that neighborhood, which was already in decline, from falling even further. And maybe prevent in Charlotte happening what happened in Detroit, Michigan, where you could get a house for cheaper than you could get a new car. And I ain't even talking about like a fancy new car. I'm talking like $20,000 to $25,000. So originally, that was the solution. And the thinking was that these corporations and these banks, once things had stabilized, would then sell these homes as single-family use. But that hasn't happened. They've held on to those homes. And in the state of North Carolina, there are about approximately 40,000 homes where this is the case. Now, 40,000 homes, when you're talking about the whole state of North Carolina, is a drop in the bucket. But the reality is the vast majority of those homes are in predominantly historically black neighborhoods in the Triad and Charlotte, where this is happening. Many of you know that I work full-time for a nonprofit called Urban Promise Charlotte. Our vision is to reach a child, raise a leader, restore community. I feel like I'm going into a promo, but roll with it. We reach children by running an after-school and summer program for kids in under-resourced neighborhoods of Charlotte. We raise leaders by using local high school students to run the after-school and summer program. And our hope and dream is that those young people who literally lead our camps and our after-school program will go on to either higher education or certified trade, where they can then come back and help restore community, specifically in Charlotte. And so the site that I'm at is on the west side, right on Freedom Drive, in the historical Camp Green neighborhood. And our numbers for the number of kids that we have coming to our after-school and summer program is dropping. It has dropped. And it's dropped because this is happening in the neighborhood that I have the privilege of working in and serving. That you go back behind into the neighborhoods behind our site at the Movement Center, and you will see homes, including homes that some of my kids live in, that aren't more than 1,000 square feet. And all around them are being erected these beautiful Charleston-inspired homes. And what that's done is let people who own the various different homes around there know that a payday is coming if they're willing to sell their home. Sell the home that they own that somebody else is living in, which then displaces the families that have lived there for generations. And it's not like they can just pick up and move into any number of the apartment buildings that are being erected in the city of Charlotte. It's getting to the point that hypothetically, if things don't slow down, if things don't stop, it might not be next year. It's definitely not going to be next year. Probably won't even be 5 years from now. But maybe it's 10 years from now. The Urban Promise Charlotte West site will functionally be in Gastonia. Now, I got nothing against Gastonia, but like the last thing they produced that was like really great was James Worthy. But in reality, you are talking about a lot of people, in particular people of color, having to go out to Gastonia, having to go out to Concord, where what's to prevent the same thing from happening, not only to those people of color, but also people in rural areas that surround there, when those areas start getting developed? All that glitters is not gold. Something has to change. Something has to be done. This is on the local level, this is on the federal level, and I'll be honest, I am only really just now starting to learn more about this issue. So personally, I don't have like this really tangible solution that I can provide you this morning. What I would say is start learning. Start learning about it, the history of this, not only in our country, but specifically in our city. There are organizations, and if I had planned ahead better, I would have seen if we could have gotten somebody from QC Family Tree to come up here and talk about this. Because like someone like Greg Jarrell is way more educated in this area and speaks to this issue a lot more than me. But it's gonna take people coming together to continue to protect the most vulnerable. But at its essence, start believing that repairing, doing a gold leaf process, so to speak, on some of the areas of our city should not result in people being displaced and made homeless. It should not necessarily result in people involuntarily having to uproot their entire lives and take it to an entirely different place. So now I'm going to make a slight hard shift. And at the same time attempt to connect two different things. What I've just talked about and what I'm going to talk about next. As you guys know, last weekend, we had the shooting in Buffalo, New York, where it wasn't until early Sunday morning or maybe even later on that afternoon that many of us discovered that the motivation of this shooter, who is a self-described white supremacist, went specifically 200 miles away from his own home into a neighborhood that he had done the research ahead of time to find out that it was a 1% white neighborhood. It was majority black. Went in there literally to hunt black people. And he was killed 10 people, injured a few more. And his motivation was this, or fear, if you will, was this subset within white supremacist ideology of the Great Replacement theory. Whereas this fear that people of color are in essence going to replace people who are deemed white. And so that's what really motivated him. And it's really easy to look at that, look at what happened in California and the attack at a Taiwanese church, look at what happened in Dallas, in the Koreatown area of Dallas, where there was another shooter who was going around trying to kill or basically hunt people who they felt didn't belong there. And bear with me here, but the connection between the housing and something as wild and as tragic and just absolutely disgusting as what that young man did last week, the common thread is this idea of replacement. Whether it's displacing people or killing people, the connection is this idea that these people are basically not necessary, not needed, that we can just displace them and get rid of them and make this place better without them being here. I know that might sound like a little bit of a stretch, but there's a real issue that goes beyond just what happened in Buffalo, what happened out in California, what happened in Dallas, where we are just swimming in a culture full of all these examples where people of color are under attack. And I know I feel like a broken record talking about it. So I'm sure some of you might be sitting here saying, really? Again, Cedric? Yeah, again, I'm tired. I am so freaking tired. This is the fourth time in the last 4 years where a shooter has basically said or avowed themselves with this replacement theory. But it also takes me back to Charlottesville, West Virginia. People marching there. And you remember what they were saying as they marched with their tiki torches? They will not replace us. I appreciate this community because quite honestly, this is one of the few church communities where I can feel safe. And even speaking about this, where I'm not made to feel like I have to assimilate into the construct of whiteness, that I can be my full self. And so I say this to a room of people who I know care about and are passionate about this issue. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. What we really, really need is for there to be a movement where folks deemed white continue the hard work of divesting of whiteness. That construct that was meant to divide people from various different cultures and ethnicities who brought all these beautiful things to the table of what they made of the earth. And whiteness has disconnected so many people who are deemed white from their cultural beauty, of their countries of origin. And for those of us, folks of color, whether we be black, whether we be Asian Pacific Islanders, whether we be Hispanic, in the midst of the fear, of the concern, let's just continue to do what we've always done and create beautiful things, live a life of joy, celebrating every moment of life and not taking it for granted. May we continue to be able to find not just the silver lining in life, but the gold in life as well, and make life golden even in the midst of such uncertainty and fear. Amen.
Got really emotional after that. So, I'm going to get to it. Since Cedric grounded us in the pain of the moment, we were thinking about what is it that we can do as a community. And I learned about this term a few weeks ago as I was studying. It's called Maiafa. And it's a Swahili term that means great disaster or terrible thing. And originally, it was a term that marked the lament of the transatlantic slave trade crossing. And in this practice of lament, Black folk would remember the ancestors that was lost, those who became ancestors. And this term has just kept popping up over the last few weeks from my friends like Andre Henry and other teachers that I'm learning for. And it feels like this is a divine orchestration that we introduce the term Maiafa here. It's great disaster. when we look at the brokenness in the world, when we're wandering and we want God to guide us. And the Ma'afa is usually done near a body of water. So we're not actually doing a Ma'afa today, but I want to invite you into a lament practice. So it's usually done by a large body of water. The names of the ancestors are called. The unacknowledged or the unknown are acknowledged. And the lament at the end gives way to dancing, gives way to joy, not because we are experiencing joy, but it's this expectation of joy, this faith that joy will come. So we're going to do a mashup of two songs, some spoken words. And I want to invite you to participate however it feels good in your body. Maybe that's just sitting where you are. Maybe that's standing. For me, I know when I'm moving energy and emotion through me, I like to sway. And so maybe you want to sway. But the purpose of the Ma'afa is to remember. So that we remember great tragedy. That we remember why we come to community together. So we're going to put a visual on the screen. We're going to say the names of those 10 lives lost. Roberta A. Drury of Buffalo, New York. Margus D. Morrison of Buffalo, New York. Andre McNeil of Auburn, New York. Aaron Salter of Lockport, New York. Geraldine Talley of Buffalo, New York. Celestine Cheney of Buffalo, New York. Hayward Patterson of Buffalo, New York. Catherine Massey of Buffalo, New York. Pearl Young of Buffalo. And our elder Ruth Whitfield, age 86, Buffalo, New York. A lot of the songs that we've sung this morning have echoed these traditions that are found in Black culture. Things like call and response. The hymns come out of this tradition known as the groan. It's when the pain is so deep that all you have left is groaning. So I've been in contemplation this week about rhythms of lament and rhythms of joy and persistence. So I invite you to hold space with me for lament. And may we all find some measure of healing, whether you're identify as a Black person, an Asian person, a Pacific Islander, a person of color, or you're standing in solidarity and wanting to divest of this construct we know as whiteness. So we're going to start with a spoken word and just linger into song. I long for a world where souls actively seek out truth and buy into something privilege could never afford. I long for a chance to exist free of society's silent plea. For me to explain and defend my culture, my body, my worth, my own self. Are these things not deserving of the carefree, gone with the wind? I woke up like this. Taste of freedom that my privileged friends have always known. Liberty coupled with fear of becoming a hashtag doesn't feel like freedom at all. This don't feel like freedom at all. If we stop loving on our own terms, God will lose. I long for the day when tokenism is deemed unacceptable, illegal, even sinful to the human psyche. A day where I can be me and you can be you. A day when money and power don't pose as the ultimate threat to human decency and dignity, but is instead used to level every playing field. I long for the day when individuality is the dissonant chord that offers new meaning, excitement, and intrigue. I long for a world I may never see. We stop loving on our own terms. God will heal. God will heal. We stop loving.
stay here in the space if that is what is best for you right now, or to go. And either way, we are grateful to have shared this space with you.